program was recorded at the CSCMP Annual Conference in San Diego. I'm pleased to welcome Supply Chain Brain Editor-in-Chief, Russell Goodman.
Hello. We're joined by Nicholas Carretta, President of Ultra Logistics, to talk about taking control of your inbound TMS. Nick, welcome.
Thank you, Russell.
What advantages do you think shippers can expect when they are utilizing a supply chain management solution to control all the components of their supply chain?
Well, on an inbound basis, if you're using a TMS properly, what you're going to find is synergies between departments. It's a collaborative tool, and if you use it as a true supply chain tool and not just as a TMS, what you're going to find is it allows you to collaborate internally with internal departments and externally with vendors and carriers, efficiently exchanging information that typically was locked in one system, locked in one computer, and not able to be shared amongst multiple players in the supply chain. So the real advantage is going to be efficiencies that you gain by collaborating, sharing information, key pieces of information at the right time in the process.
Now, in speaking earlier, we talked about vendor portal concept. I think the viewers might want to know, what is it that you mean by that? So let's define that, and then let's talk about the benefits that you think flow from that.
The vendor portal is part of the supply chain management solution, and what that does is it allows vendors to collaborate with buyers and with logistics professionals the same way carriers communicate through a web-based software solution with their logistics people. So what happens with our solution, UltraShip TMS, is as soon as the orders are cut by the buyers, they get transmitted over to UltraShip TMS. Once that happens, the vendors are then able to ship against those purchase orders, improve order accuracy, improve order timeliness, arrange for transportation, and provide visibility to when the components or when the products are inbound into the distribution center or the manufacturing facility.
So are there benefits, though, that shippers are going to derive beyond those that they might expect from the better planning, et cetera, that they're supposed to be getting from routing guides?
Well, yeah, planning not only in transportation planning, but in planning in workforce, knowing what components are going to be coming in on any given day. Not just to know you have 3 trucks coming in today or 30 trucks coming in today, but what are on those trucks. And by knowing what's on them, that helps you configure your lines, better arrange your staffing so that the night before, you know, how big of a workforce do I need to have on shift tomorrow, or do I just have to call everybody in because I don't really know what's coming in. So there's your storage, the amount of storage space that you're going to need. So are you going lean? By better planning your inbound and better having visibility, it helps you become more of a lean operation, better plan your manpower, and then there's all the transportation benefits that you'd normally have through using a TMS, such as routing compliance, better rates by partnering with your carriers and finding out what lanes work for them, what lanes work for you. So it really becomes not just a TMS tool, but a supply chain tool that really expands the scope of where you're seeing your efficiencies. And I mean, I have one user that first month alone, just the savings expedite cost is over $80,000 in expedited cost savings, and right from day one. And that's basically taking a tool and saying, do I really need to expedite this freight? And if I do, who's going to approve that expedite? And adding some accountability to the system. So, through implementing the tool, they really said, expedite only what really needs to be expedited, and by doing that, they were able to save just in that first month quite a large sum of money.
Now, another aspect of that transportation that you're talking about is effectively matching carriers with loads. Now, is there a way to optimize that beyond what most of us are experiencing today?
Depending on who you talk to in TMS, a lot of shippers are going out, they bid out their freight, and they select carrier based on a combination of the carrier's desire to move freight in that lane and price. But what we can do is we look at the actual commodity on the shipment, and we look down to the SKU level. And by looking at the SKU level, we can start to better route the freight. if you know origin, destination, SKU, you really know everything about that truckload or that shipment, whether it's LTL, an ocean container shipment, or an LTL shipment. And by looking at what's actually on the bill of lading, on the manifest, then you can start to look at special requirements, whether it's temperature control, special loading configurations, and through basically an intelligent routing decision, you can set up a series of if-then statements. When the order drops, it looks at those parameters. What's the lead time on my order? What's the SKU on the order? Where is it going to? Is there any customer preference as to what carrier comes in there? Is there any vendor preference as to what carrier comes in there? And then it can intelligently say, based on all these criteria, carrier A is my best choice, followed by carrier B, followed by carrier C. And then it goes through the routing process of, dropping the tender to each one of those carriers and getting an acceptance.
I think this is what you meant when you talked about detail down to the SKU level. Is that right?
Absolutely. And again, it's by seeing that SKU level data, not only allows you to better buy your transportation or better tender your freight or route your freight to the right carrier, it then transmits to the receiver of that shipment or the shipper being able to better plan for that SKU, knowing what's coming in, what components are coming in today, pre-plan where they're going to go into the warehouse, and you really start to see a lot of those efficiencies of the true optimal supply chain, where you're able to do more cross-stocking of freight coming through, reducing your warehousing costs. There's a lot of different things that you can do along the way, and every shipper is different, so everyone's going to want to use it a little bit differently. But our tool, UltraShip, that's one of the things. It's configurable and allows each shipper to take advantage of it. Whether they're in a retail scenario or a manufacturing scenario, they can configure it and look down again to that SKU level to make better decisions.
As we were talking, you mentioned a couple of words several times. You talked about simplicity, you talked about functionality. I guess the skeptic would say, aren't these just buzzwords? So what are we talking about? What do you mean when you say those words?
They can be buzzwords if you're not careful when you're choosing your solution. When we say simplicity and functionality, we like to keep the user interface to the TMS as simple as possible. In this day and age, with all the web-based applications that are out there, all the internet mail services and the social networking sites, people are very used to a certain interface with the computer, and they're very used to drag and drops and different things along those lines. So you have to go with what they're used to, and the technology we use allows them to interact with the computer similarly to how they're doing it with their social networking and their web-based email, and that allows us to add a layer of simplicity to our applications that makes it very user-friendly, makes it intuitive, makes it easy to train people on them. So it's really not rocket science, and I know that's a well-used term or well-used phrase, but it's not, and you have to keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. Our programmers all have transportation experience, and one of the things they do is they take that experience and translate it to the applications they build, keeping it simple for the end user.
Takeaway for the viewer, final word for him?
I don't know if I really have one other than just make sure if you're looking at products out there and you're looking to implement a TMS or a supply chain tool, take it for a road test, see it live in action, and ultimately if your users don't feel that it's user-friendly or they feel that it's not intuitive, I'd say go with your gut on that one.
Take it for a road test. Useful advice, Nick. Thanks for sitting down with us today.
You're welcome, Russell. Thank you.
That's Nick Carretta, President of Ultra Logistics. He's speaking with us today about taking control of your inbound TMS. Thank you for watching.